It's about 9:30 in the morning on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. And the cows are just about done with the hay that I gave them yesterday morning. And time to move them to another bale of hay. Got one set up there. It's about 68 degrees, a little bit windy. We had a little thunderstorm roll through this morning. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of the water ended up here. Well, I got some back in my house, which is just like a mile away. So there's that saying about droughts that droughts are local. That even though the area around you is getting rain, doesn't mean you're getting rain, especially here in the Great Plains. So I did a check of all the calves. They all look healthy. They all look good. I wanted to talk. I wanted to bring my phone yesterday. I forgot to bring my phone to the field and talk about what was happening with my calves and what my theories are. But first, I wanted to talk about blackleg. Commentator mentioned blackleg. So, as far as I understand, blackleg doesn't affect newborn calves. It affects calves that are about 6 months old, all the way up to 2 years old, and then they're immune to it. And the way blackleg works is it's in the soil or the grass. And cattle that graze, they pick up the disease. I don't know. I think it's a bacteria or something like that. It could be a fungus or something too. I don't know. And that disease lives in their body. Now, normally that disease is harmless. It doesn't do anything until, and the one article I read says it doesn't do anything until there's conditions of low oxygen in the flesh, which could happen for any number of reasons. And once that happens, then the disease multiplies rapidly and you get necrosis of the tissue and you get death within like 24 hours or 48 hours, okay? So typically the symptoms onset in the summer. I'm not really sure why that is, why it's more likely in the summer than not. Would you guys leave those tags alone, please? Number 20? Leave those tags alone. My theory, so there's two theories that I think are good theories on why the calves died. The first theory is the injury theory, that they got kicked or stepped on or something like that. I don't know how I would examine the carcasses to figure out if that was the case or not. If I looked at a bunch of internal organs, I couldn't tell you which ones are bruised and which ones aren't. The other theory that I think is a good theory, and one of the other commentators mentioned this, is they didn't get colostrum. The colostrum is, when the calf is first born, the mother produces colostrum, which is a highly nutritious milk. You can call it milk, right? And it just comes out for that first, few hours after the calf is born. Now, there's a couple reasons why the calf might not get colostrum. One is that it's just a weak calf. It can't get up and nurse on its mother. The other reason is another calf comes along and takes the colostrum before the calf can get to it. Now, I suspect that our friend number 26, who was born to number 24, and number 24 being my skinniest calf, and I've seen number 26 milk on other cows, right? So I'm fairly certain the number 26 is a ninja and is stealing milk. That's a good theory. I think that's a possible theory. I don't know how I would prove it or disprove it. It's always hard to prove things that happen when you weren't there. But I think that's a possibility. Now, if that's the case, the question with both cases is, what do I do about it? Do I give these cows another chance? Do I cull the herd of the cows whose calves died? Do I start administering blackleg vaccinations at birth? Obviously the last one's not good. But the answer, I think, is you get rid of the cows that there's calves died, right? For whatever reason, their calves died. Now, it may be just pure chance. It may be nothing that they could have done, but it probably was something they could have done. Here's number 21 that lost the calf, number 42. Either way, would you cull a cow that had a good calf or cull a cow whose calf died? That's really the question. Which is more likely to lead to a stronger herd, or which is more likely to keep the cows that do well? And the answer is you keep the cows that do well, get rid of the ones that don't. So that's what's going to happen. Probably when I take number 1 to the barn, the sale barn, I'll take number 21 and Dusty as well. I might ask, because Dusty, I'll ask the original owner. There's some emotional attachment to Dusty at least. I'll ask if they want Dusty, and they'll probably say no, so I'll take it to the sale barn. But that's the long and the short of the story. I think I'm not criticizing anybody here. I just want to explain about a different way of thinking that a lot of people, the vast majority of the world, has no familiarity with. And that's the rational or logical way of thinking. And when I listen to Greg Judy opine on, why you have to get the blackleg vaccine and all that kind of stuff, he's sharing some personal, heartfelt stories and some experiences he had, which I think are valid. I think you should pay attention to those things. They're important. The thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way is making factual, absolute statements without any evidence behind it, right? So, or very little evidence, right? And the one thing that is certain is that cows died, right? Cattle died. The thing that we're not certain about is why those cows die. And I think that's something that, it's very difficult to establish the cause of death for anything. It goes back to the thing, like, you weren't there when it happened, right? And then you get into the whole problem of causality. So the issue with causality is like, let's say you see a forest on fire, right? The question is, why did the forest catch fire? Is it because somebody started a brush fire next to the forest, and then the brush fire spread and the forest caught fire? Or is it because the forest, it's the middle of the drought and the forest is in unusually dry conditions? Is it because the forest wasn't cleared of the dead trees beforehand, and thus the forest caught fire because of mismanagement, right? And ultimately, when you get down to it and you're trying to establish causality, you realize that the only logical way to explain something like that is to say all these factors combined at the same time, and you get the result, right? We teach kids about fire. We say fire needs fuel, it needs heat, and it needs oxygen, right? And it's not the oxygen that causes the fire any more than it's the fuel that causes the fire, any more than it's the heat that causes the fire, right? It's all of those factors combined, right? And then we get into the outside of the scientific realm when we start assigning blame, like we start assigning moral judgments on people, like, Tommy started the forest fire because he lit the brush fire, Well, maybe Jimmy caused the forest fire because he didn't clear the brush from the forest, right? Or maybe you blame God for the forest fire because of the drought, So that kind of blame in a scientific context, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change any of the observed facts. It doesn't change the logical explanation for why things are happening. Morality is entirely separate topic from science. Like, whether something's good or bad or somebody's to blame or not, that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter, right? That doesn't change anything. So when it comes to, like, my calves dying, the thing that I have to ask myself, the most important thing is, what do I do, right? What do I do differently? That's the only thing I can control, is my actions, right? And I think the answer is, I'm going to cull the herd. I'm going to get rid of 24. I'm going to get rid of 26. I'm sorry, Dusty. And I'm going to get rid of 21, right? Is that going to have the intended effect that no calves will ever die ever again? No, probably not. Is that going to reduce the chances of calves dying in the future? I don't know, maybe. The other thing I need to do is replace all these cows eventually. They get old, and eventually they're going to not be able to take care of their calf, or not produce a calf at all, right? And ideally, I'd like to stop that before it happens. I don't want to come to the field for a year and not have calves because all the cows are old, and then I have to wait 2 years before I get, calves again, because I have to wait for the heifers to grow up, So kind of have to be aggressive about getting rid of cows as they get older, And unfortunately, I don't know the age of these cows. I could probably look at their teeth and try to figure it out, but I do know that there's a risk with the heifer's first calf at 2 years old, just like there's a risk of an old cow, you know. But once you've got a proven cow, you know, you got at least a few years out of that cow, right? So anyway, that's something I have to start doing. Is that's what I can do, you know. And I think that'll make the biggest difference for the things that happened, right? So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts there. Is it's always difficult to establish true causes. Causes are always, there's multiple things that cause it to happen that come together at the same time, any one of which would not cause the thing, you know, but together they cause the thing. And then trying to assign blame, you've left the realm of science and reason, and now you're talking about a realm of, you know, morality and independence and free will and stuff like that. You know, who really causes anything? You know, it's a moral question, a philosophical question that doesn't really have a scientific answer to it. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do going forward. But it's a nice day. There's some wind blowing from the east. I already mentioned the thunderstorm we had this morning that didn't give us any rain. I'm kind of looking at the condition of the cows, and I'm thinking one of the problems is we had calves early this year, that if my calves came in the middle of April, it would be an entirely different story, because the cows would have way more milk. And that's another thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to make sure we don't breed until July, right? The bulls will not be able to touch the cows until July. So, all right, guys, have a great day. If you have any more suggestions or ideas, I'm open. Take care and bye-bye.